The recording has started.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I knew Gene Keaton personally, spoke to him many times on the phone, and this is some of the information in which that he taught us. So we're talking about prisoner bonds, court crimes, use of bonds. So what is a bond? A bond is a statue. This is why they like to keep you under the statues. So a statue's a corpse. When you put a statue together in terms of art, you're making a monument, something in which that is not living, breathing, flesh entity, but it has a likeness of, right? So statues have a likeness of law, even though it's not law. So they can attach bonds to the statues. Did everyone hear what I just said? Think about what I just said. Every statue is a bond. So when you go to court, they ask you, do you understand the charges being brought up against you? Against what? In real law or statute court?
Statute court.
Right. Statues. That's what they're charging. They're charging statues against what? The bond. And what's the bond? Everything is predicated on the birth certificate. That's what they drafting the bonds from, is from the birth certificate. Courtroom charges are civil, not criminal. Once again, courtroom charges are civil, not criminal. The clerk praxis was the court of arches under the king's bench, written at the time of Edward I. Is a court of probate. John Hall writes this book. This was used in vice admiralty court in the colonies in the American Revolution, and this is what caused the revolution. Everything involved bonds. I'm going to say that again. Everything involves bonds. So when you say that you understand the charge of being brought up against you in court, it means that you are being responsible for the statute that you violated and the bond in which that they generated per statute. So you essentially is responsible for the bond. That's why you have to bond out. So if your bond is $25,000, then that means 2,500, which is 10% of that 25,000, you can go and get a bondsman. But you have to pay that bondsman 10% of that bond. And hence you are released until the court date, unless you do something else. So when you're arrested, there's two different sets of bonds. You have a bid bond, is when you basically when you're arrested. You fill it out when you're arrested. You fill out your own damn bid bond when you're arrested.
Wow.
Well, at least sign it. So you being bidded upon. Well, hold up, god damn. When you do, when you look at the football drafts, the basketball drafts, baseball drafts, and they checking your teeth, hands, feet, and ass to see how well proportionate you are. They call it a draft, but really, what are the teams doing? The teams are bidding for you, right?
That's true.
Right or wrong? That's what they're doing. They are bidding for you. Mm, They're bidding for you. So guess what? A bid bond is filled out on each of the players in which that they potentially want. And whoever has the highest bid, that's who they go with. Right? So at the United States District, which is the federal court, they use bonds, which is SF. The forms that they use is the SF standard form 273, 274, and 275. That's the bid bond, performance bond, and the payment bond. Okay. So for everybody to keep up, let's look at it. So the 273, 274, and 275 bond forms, the 273 is the reinsurance with the United States. Reinsurance. Reinsurance. Somebody look that up in the Black's Law Dictionary for me. Somebody read that for me, please. Reinsurance.
Okay, I have it, Doc.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. Reinsurance, a contract by which an insurer procures a third person to insure him against loss or liability by reason of original insurance. A contract that one
Okay,
okay.
so now I'm just going to say, so somebody has insurance on you. Why would you have to purchase insurance if this insurance already on you? Anybody can tell me? That's why it's called reinsurance,
That's a good question. I couldn't think of a
which
reason.
means which which the word re means to do again. So you can insure yourself, but we're going to reinsure. Okay, reinsurance. An agreement or arrangement whereby an insurer transfers all or part of a risk to another insurer. So who is this someone insuring you? Who is insuring you? So when more say that the government isn't doing all of these things to you, then you have to ask the question, then who the fuck is the insurer? I'll tell you who. It's called Payne Weber. And what is Payne Weber? Let's let's look up Payne Weber. Yeah, let's look up the pain. If I come to bring the pain hardcore to the brain, step into my astral plane. So right here, Payne Weber was an American investment bank and stock brokerage firm that was acquired by the Swiss bank UBS in 2000. Hmm, okay. Y'all ain't see the connection yet, but let's continue on. In other words, i.e., the government, they the insurer. And it utilizes their subsidiary DTC, Depository Trust Company, Depository Trust Corporation, to insure you because it's predicated on the birth certificate to provide protection against the risk of the first insurance. The incident will make it more difficult for them to secure international reinsurance for their clients. That's just an example, but we wanted to read that. Interesting. Okay, you'll see how we will bring this together in a second here. So the 274 is the Miller Act reinsurance performance bond. The 275 is the payment bond, your Miller Act reinsurance payment bond. The GSA is under the comptroller of the currency, which is under the GAO, the General Accounting Office. There are two sets of bonds, as we said, the SF 273, 274, 275, which is at the federal level. However, at the state level, you have SFs 24, 25, and 25A. Performance bond, bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond. The 24 is the bid bond. The 25 is the performance bond, and the 25A is the payment bond. 273 is the performance bond. 274 is the is the bid bond. 273 is the bid bond. 274 is the performance bond, and 275 is the payment bond. State level 24, 25, 25A. Federal level 273, 74, 75. So everything involves bonds. Everything. So as we said, the 273, 74, 75 are the bonds for federal level courts to use. What they're doing with these bonds? Well, in the courtroom, you're being sued for debt collection. That's what's going on.
Because you broke a statute.
So either you know how to discharge, right? Because you broke a statute, right? Think
Right.
about it. When you see a movie, they always have a vase or vase or some type of statue in which that is broken, and they say, "What is it? What do they say? Oh, that's a lot of money." Think about all the movies that you've seen. Why is it that statues are always getting broken,
Mm.
especially when it comes to robbery? See, that's a Hollywood inside joke of what I just told you. Is an action in assumption. The word presume comes from assumptive. Assumption. I agree or I undertook to do. Assumption means collection of debt. They presume that you're going to pay this debt. Why? Because they have the birth certificate and you never put anything up against it denying it that you're not a U.S. citizen. So you are a U.S. citizen and therefore you will be attached to the bond via the statute in which that was broken or violated. Or these bonds have a penal sum attached to it. Yeah, penal sum. That means that there's a bond, for example, murder is $4 million. So if you don't have $4 million, then you have to spend that time in jail based off the $4 million that they would collect from you being in jail or prison, I should say. And what happens then? There, you're paid 29 cents an hour and you have to make license plates, computers, hell, even cars nowadays, and whatever else that you have to make to make up for the debt. If you go into default judgment, you end up in prison wondering what is going on. If you agree or argue jurisdiction, which sometimes you might win, majority of times you will win, especially in traffic court, or refuse to answer questions that the court addressed to you, you be held in contempt in court and in jail. This goes back to Edward the First and clerk praxis. This is all civil and not criminal. It's a smokescreen to cover up what they are doing. So what are they doing? Well, let's see. They brought someone to court under an arrest bond. Okay, so the arrest bond is the first thing. There was a civil suit. Clerk praxis is Latin for practice. Praxis means practice. This book, this is why the lawyers and attorneys practice law. This is why doctors practice medicine. You get it? Their praxis. This book is an actual practice book that goes into everything. Jack Smith teaches letter-rogatories. You are held under the suit until the suit is complete. Then you get a default judgment for failure to pay a bond or excuse me, pay a debt, and then you are put in prison. Attorneys are there as a smokescreen to cover up what is really done. They lead you into default judgment by argument, dishonor, and you go to prison, and then the default judgment is sold. Well, who purchases the default judgment, no matter if it's state court or what? Well, the United States District Court. The federal court buys all the state court judgments. Type in United States Court in any search engine. If you get to the United States courts, there is 11 circuit courts on the United States list. Click onto Circuit 7. It will take you into all of the lists of the courts. To find Ohio, Illinois, find Circuit 7 in Northern Illinois District Court, Bankruptcy Court, etc. And then you'll find a box that say Clerk Office. Scroll down and you'll see Administrative Offices. And under that, you'll see Financial Departments. It talks about the Criminal Justice Act's optional bids. It is all spelled out. Go to the list of surety. Why would they have a list of surety in a federal district court? When you click onto this, it takes you to www.S.treasury.gov. This is the Department of Treasury. This is why you send your documents to where? Once you do your nationality and you do your UCC affidavits and all its contracts, you send the UCC and the affidavit contracts to where? You send it to the Department of Treasury, in particular to who? Janet Yellen, who is the treasurer. You ask permission to activate your UCC trust account so that you can what? Discharge debt. The debts. You get it? Remember, you go to prison or jail because there's a debt collection. However, if you have your process done at the Treasury, then you have the ability in order to discharge debts. I'm going to say that again. With everyone listening, you want to say that again. You send off your UCCs, which is called your asset protection, your UCC ones, in particular your UCC one financial statement, your UCC addendum, your UCC affidavit, your copyright trademark trade name, your fidelity bond, your security agreement, private agreement, hold harmless indemnity clause or agreement, bond for discharge, negative avertment. You send off 90, 91, optional form 90, optional form 91. You send off your standard form 28, in the affidavit of individual surety. You'll send off your private bond set off, your your negotiable chargeback and negotiable bill of exchange. And you send off a 1040 NR, non-residential, and a 1040V voucher. And your UCC one financial statement, as we said earlier. So you send off all these documents and you're sending them to the Department of Treasury to activate your UCC trust account, or what is called your money account, so that you're able to discharge in 30 days. So then you will see on the left-hand side of the screen, emitting, and reinsured. Under that is the list of surety. Under that is the forms. If you click on to admitted, reassured, and there are over 300 insurance companies. There's a complete list. There's also a list of surety companies. There's also more insurance companies. Under Circular 750, the Department of Treasury, these insurance companies have to be certified before they can purchase the bonds. They can't put up bonds unless they are certified by the Secretary of Treasury. So what do you do? Well, you get certified by the Secretary of Treasury too, by sending off your documentation, your asset protection, your UCCs, and contracts. So you can get certified so that you can write bonds too. Matter of fact, the bond that you want to use is your birth certificate. Remember, that's a bond. We spoke about that last week. That's the bond that you're going to use. Next, you'll go to the forms. Click here to go to the Miller backed reinsurance. It's list the three different types of bonds. You don't use a bid bond in district court. These bonds go out to the GSA. The 273, 274, 275 bond follows as forms are as follow. And we already went over that. What are they doing with these bonds? They have regulated governing these bonds. 2,000 pages govern these bonds. Gene will sell these for $50. If you go into these regulations, they'll tell you they're buying up commercial items, actual words. So who's the commercial item? You are. Well, let's see. 2.01 of the regulations. The regulation is divided into 50 parts. There's 1,126 pages, volume 823 page in the volume 2. Commercial items are non-personal property, property that is not real estate. Movable property. Real estate is not movable. These terms are defined in the UCC. This is why you use the UCC, and you have more saying, well, you should be using the UCC. They're using it on your monkey ass to keep you in prison. Literally. This is what I use to get five prisoners out of jail, out of prison, and out of jail. And I should say prison. But commercial items or commercial property or papers, excuse me. This is the eighth edition Black Snow Dictionary, which just came out. Of course, we up in number 9 and shit, soon 10, if not already out. Commercial items, the commercial paper, negotiable instruments. Anything you put your signature on is a negotiable instrument. This is lax merchantoria. This is used in the courtroom because every one of us is a merchant of law. That's what lex merchatoria means merchant of law. Because I use commercial paper on a day to day schedule, I am considered an expert. This is why they don't tell us what's going on in the courtroom. Every time we put our signature on paper, we're creating negotiable or non negotiable instruments, and this makes us experts. When I endorsed it under 3-419, I am a accommodation party or an accommodation maker. Anyone who loans his signature to another party is an accommodation party. This is in 3-419 of the UCC. Interesting. Somebody look up for me negotiable instruments.
I got it right here, Lynn.
All right.
Uh, any written securities which may be transferred by endorsement and delivery or by delivery merely, so as to vest in the endorsee the legal title and thus enable him to use thereon in his own name, or more technically, those instruments which not only carry the legal title with them by endorsement or by delivery, but carry as well, when transferred before maturity, the right of the transferee to demand the full amounts which their faces call for.
Mm.
A negotiable instrument is a written promise or request for the payment of a certain sum of money to order or bearer.
Read that one again.
A negotiable instrument is a written promise or request for the payment of a certain sum of money to order or bearer.
So remember, I told you last week that when you was born, you was worth $650,000 according
Right.
to the Internal Revenue Code (IRC). So think about that.
So when you lean your birth certificate, you control all of that.
Exactly, that's the point. But yet you have more saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be dedicating your birth certificate, and you shouldn't be doing this and that."
Knowledge is power, man. Hmm.
That's why I said, please, people, stop listening to these jackasses who don't know the law. You do a title of ownership for the birth certificate. You do the lien on the name on the birth certificate. You authenticate the birth certificate. You do an executor or executrix letter to come back as the head of your estate. And therefore, you can appoint trustees. You can't appoint nobody if they are pretending to be the trustees. Like the judge is pretending to be the trustee when you go to court. And you abandon your position. As a matter of fact, a bank annually writes up a 1099-A, which is an abandonment form, on your ass every year. That's if you close the account or still have it open. Mm-mm-mm. So when you loan your signature to them, they can rewrite your signature on any document they want to. As we already told you and showed you on the check, that line that you write your name on actually is not a line. That says authorized representative, and you have to get a magnifying glass to look at it. Authorized representative. That's what it says. Slick. They slick now, goddammit. They slick Roni. At least they thought they were. So it is our job to come up with methods in which that will put a corkscrew in their tires. Otherwise, gonna keep rolling along. You have to be the glass on the ground as they ride their tires through. This is the point of me teaching this information. We're the glass that they think gonna keep running over us. But yet they're not doing this. The fake Jews aren't doing this, as Kanye West was talking about. The Avion isn't doing this. Nobody's doing this to us. It's all in your fucking mind. There's no fucking conspiracy. There's no conspiracy. They wouldn't do this to you. You're an American citizen. I'm an American citizen. I pay my taxes.
Who was saying that?
Yeah, this is what they say.
Mm.
Mm. Until I come with this information here, then there ain't shit to say because I'm going into specifics. This is scholarship right here. This ain't us playing bullshit games any longer. So when you sign that check, they can take that signature off that check. They can take that signature off of that promissory note and put that signature onto any other document that they want to. They do the same thing in court as I'm showing you here. So the federal court buys up the state court's default judgments. These are civil. And just being called criminal is the cover up that they're doing. If you don't pay the debt, you go to prison. QSIP is an identification. Look up QSIP. What is QSIP? Huh? What is QSIP? Committee on Uniform Identification Processes. What is the QSIP number? Anybody know what the QSIP number is?
You use that to search for bonds?
You're right. Yeah, you use it to search for bonds. So let's read. QSIP is identification. DTC, Depository Trust Corporation, it has several other monikers. Depository Trust Clearance Corporation, DTCC, or Depository Trust Company. $1 trillion a day goes through the DTC. Government Clearance Security Clearing Corporation is another day. QSIP is a trademark of Standards and Poor's and is on bottom floor of the building of 55 Water Street, which is in uh, New York City, New York at 10041 area code. All right, 55 Water Street, but also there's one in Water Street in Washington D.C. Why are both of these buildings in on Water Street?
Currency.
Exactly. Thank you. You think this is coincidence that the Standard and Poor's trademark on Water Street in Washington D.C. and there's one on Water Street, excuse me, Water Street in Washington D.C. and there's one in New York on Water Street also, which toward the Depository Trust Company or Corporation is on Water Street, 55 Water Street, New York City, New York, 10041. That's the address. Because water is admiralty. And that's how they brought you onto the waters. It's by naming the streets water. Oh shit, man. I can't make this shit up. But yet there's no conspiracy. You hear jackasses say there's no conspiracy. Then what the fuck is this? This sounds like the biggest conspiracy of all. Not only did they take away your nationality, which we solved that problem issue, now we got to solve the commerce issue. You operating as a natural person, indigenous person in commerce. How is that possible when the only thing commerce deals with is names in all caps? Well, you secure yourself by way of the UCCs. QSIP, SINS, which is QSIP International Numbering System, is an international numbering system. Domestic securities have 6-digit numbers. International numbers, which is International Security Identification Division Plus, or a global networking company or system. And Payne Weber. Uh-oh. We just showed you that Payne Weber got bought out. But it was Payne Weber with 10,000 corporations in it. Is the major stockholder of CCA, Correction Corporation of America in Nashville, Tennessee. But hold up. Who bought, once again, who bought Wayne Payne Weber? Oh, they was acquired, right? They was acquired in 2000. Who bought it? A Swiss bank, UBS. Acquired by the Swiss bank, UBS in 2000. Mm-mm-mm. Now, allegedly, they defunct. But since they was bought by someone, that means that practice is still going on. The practice is still going on. Let's see. Let's look up the company. This Swiss bank, UBS. Yeah, let's look that up. See, this is how you do research. You got Google, do research. That's the key.
Dr. Lynn,
Yes.
I like to say people, a lot of people walk around with These $800 phones, man, but nobody take a couple seconds to look anything up, man. It's really crazy.
No, they don't.
You can find a
All
lot
they
of
know how to do is
stuff in
watch
here.
fucking. All they know how to do is watch fucking TikTok.
Yeah. Cause some of this stuff, man, I just Google it on my phone and just read.
So here it is, UBS Switzerland. Hold up. What have you heard about Switzerland from since you was a youth? From since you was young? From since you was a little child? What have you learned about Switzerland? Think about it.
They private over there. They do a lot of keep your money over there. That's what I remember.
Yeah, a lot
Right,
of people,
right,
a lot of
right,
people hide their money.
right. All right, them the answers I'm looking for. Good answers, brother Joff. Good answer, Demonte. Good answers. All right. So everybody heard that? Normally, when you put money in the Swiss bank, Switzerland is neutral. So all the countries put their money in the Switzerland bank. So they took over, UBS Switzerland took over from Payne Weber. Which was what? What was Payne Weber once again? Let's look
American
it up.
Corp.
Payne Weber, once again, was a major corporation, in which that was a brokerage firm, which was an American investment bank.
Mm.
Was an American investment bank. So the courts utilize the American investment bank and stock brokerage. Hold up, what is stock? Somebody read stock for me. Stock. Because remember the bank of the waters. When you come down to the water, they tell you to stand away from the bank or you might fall in. And remember, we showed you that these depository trust companies and corporations and depository trust clearing corporations, they are on Water Street. 55 Water Street, New York City, New York, 10041, or it's Water Street in Washington, D.C. There's a lot of water going on in these banks. Don't fall in. You don't want to fall in. Somebody look up for me. Look it up for me. Anybody got it?
Yeah, I got it right here.
All right, let's hear it.
This is under mercantile law. It says the goods and wares of a merchant or tradesman kept for sale in traffic. In a larger sense, the capital of a merchant or other person, including his merchandise, money, and credits, or in other words, the entire property employed in business.
Mm, mm. All right. So that's what stock is, y'all.
But that's us.
Read it one more time so they can see that.
The goods and wares
Please.
of a merchant or tradesman kept for sale
Mm,
in traffic. In a larger sense, the capital of a merchant or other person, including his merchandise, money, and credits, or in other words, the entire property employed in business. That's us. That's crazy.
all right. Right. That's right. So Payne Weber, with 10,000 corporations in it, is the major stockholder of CCA, Correction Corporation of America, in Nashville, Tennessee. They have private. Check this out now. They have privatized the system.
Mm.
Ginnie Mae, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, and all the international. They are all international. Everyone is feeding off the prison system internationally. All major corporations are feeding off the prison system, including RET, which is Real Estate Investment Trust, PCN, which is the prison trust. All right? all real estate companies are holding bonds and the bonds are not redeemed and they haven't closed my account. The Lehman Brothers just gave $6 billion to New York City, had a $3 billion deficit. The Lehman Brothers gave New York City the money to build credit facilities, not prison systems. This is what they're called now. Prison systems are called credit facilities.
Wow. Wow.
So prison systems are called credit facilities. So that means when they ask you, do you understand the charges being brought up against you? What you do with credit cards? You what? You
Charge.
charge them. So the Lehman Brothers is underwriting the prison system. They buy up the bid bonds, the court judgments. So this is who purchases the prison bonds from the federal court or the Lehman Brothers. Who are the Lehman Brothers? They sit on the board of the Federal Reserve Bank. Let's look this up. What does it say? Lehman Brothers, Holding Incorporated, with a American global financial services firm founded in 1847. Before filing for bankruptcy in 2008, the Lehman was the fourth largest investment bank in the United States behind Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Merrill Lynch, with about 25,000 employees worldwide. Mm, 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 mm. This is what we mean by everyone is eating off of you. You are the commerce for everyone else. All right. So allegedly, they try to act like the Lehman Brothers went down in 2008. Of course, we know that somebody bought them. So what happened? It said it was doing business in investment banking, equity, fixed incomes, and what derivatives, sales, and trading, especially United States Treasury securities. Research, investment management, private equity, and private banking. It says Lehman was operational for 158 years from its founding in 1850 until 2008. In 2008, September 15th, Lehman Brothers filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. But that was the fourth largest. So that means if the fourth largest is doing it, then that means best believe the other three is doing it too. No Murmur Holdings announced that it will acquire Lehman Brothers Finance franchise in the Asia Pacific region, including Japan, Hong Kong, and Australia. So we know that's some who bought it because they had to get liquidated. Liquidated. Oh shit! There we go again. Liquid water. Okay. Interesting. Mm-mm. It said the Barclays will absorb 47.4 billion in securities and assume 45.5 billion in trading liabilities. Hmm. Finally, Lehman will retain 20 billion of securities assets of the Lehman Brothers Incorporated that they are not being transferred to Barclays. Barclays acquired a potential liability of 2.5 billion to be paid as severance. See, this is why you research, you study. So let's continue on with our great understanding and overstanding of what the hell is really taking place on planet Earth. So it was the Lehman Brothers who was the underwriters for the prison system. But now you know who are the new underwriters. They buy up the bid bonds, the court judgments. There are international treaties that are reinsurance treaties. Hold on now. There are international treaties that are reinsurance treaties. Oh, we definitely gonna have to check into that. Insurance companies came in and act as surety for the bid bonds. The performance bid and payment bonds are all surety bonds. Well, this is why you do what is called SF 28. Let's look at it, which is called what? An affidavit of individual surety. This is why this comes in your documentation when you do your UCC or asset protection documents, affidavits. Here it is. Affidavit of individual surety. Can everyone see it? Can everyone see it?
No, we're not. Okay, we see it now.
Yeah, now we do. Yes.
Okay. Look how I'm filling it out, y'all. All right. So Notice everything that we just put here. All right, I'm just doing my own example. So here, state of North Carolina, county of Vance. All right, right here, Leonard Jerome Dancy. You're gonna put your birth name, and it's gonna be a type and duration of occupation, lifetime, home address. Put whatever, telephone number, email. You can actually put NA, non-applicable if you choose to. Depository Trust Company, 55 Water Street, New York City, New York, 10041. Same thing for who is the surety broker. All right. Who's the individual surety broker? Well, this affidavit of individual surety. So who is the who is the broker? Is the DTC, Depository Trust Corporation or Company. All right. Security, excuse me, surety broker, email. If you know it, you can put it. um, Telephone number, business number, financial institution address. You can even put the routing number if you know it. All right, if you can probably look that up. All right, so that's essentially how you fill that out. At least the top part. All right, the following is a true representation of assets, and of course you can put your assets, the same information which is on your UCC one financial statement in collateral listing actually can go here into these three areas. This first box, second box here, identify all liens, judgments, and any other encumbrance involving subject assets, as well as identity or identify all bonds, including bid guarantees. You see that bid guarantees. So you can list all of that. So if you had a court date or something, and you know that's what they're doing is making bid bonds, performance bond, payment bonds, and shit. You can actually um, use that bond number, which is nothing more than the account number, which is nothing more than your case number. You get it? So right here, you can come down. It says bond and contract to which this affidavit is related to or relates to. It would be your state file number from your birth certificate. State file number from your birth certificate. Let me show you that. Your state file number is here. You see his state file number 109 2017 dash, and then there will be four numbers or five numbers depending on, maybe five numbers depending on whatever they put after that. But this is the state file number right here. So you'll take that state file number, and that's what you will put there, right here at the bond and contract to which this affidavit relates. Okay, you get a notary, blah blah blah. You do your signature, get the notary, and you finish. But that becomes your affidavit of individual surety. So therefore, you have something now to go against their surety information. You see? But yet you have more telling you, oh, you don't mess with the UCC. All bid bonds must have a surety. And if you're not the surety, then who's going to be the surety? Huh?
I am.
Uncle Sam.
Right. You better be, or somebody else is going to be the trustee. Which and that's what happens in court. The judge now say he's going to be the one who's going to issue it. The surety is guaranteeing the reinsuring of the bid bond by issuing the performance bond. They get an underwriter, investment broker, or banker. Oh, this is why it's important for you to watch The Banker, the movie, The Banker. Anthony Mack, Samuel Jackson, and Neil Long. You need to watch that movie tonight. You can watch it in 1, 2, 3 movies. Watch The Banker. They didn't put out the movie because it dropped too many jewels in it. It would give a nigga too many ideas. That's why I'm trying to form a team of those in which that will want to get this going. Because we got shit that we need to do as a people. Things that we need to build. But we have to make sure that we are set up right and exact. So right here, they get the investment broker, or banker to underwrite the performance bid bond or performance bond, which reinsures the bid bond. The underwriter takes the payment, performance, and bid bonds and pool them into a mortgage-backed securities, which is called bonds, and sold to the TBA, which is the Bond Market Association, an actual corporation. After the performance or payment bond is issued to reinsure or underwrite the performance bond, which is reinsured or reinsures the bid bond, the bank converts the bonds to investment securities. The banks and brokerage houses are selling these as investment securities. The prisoners are funding the whole enchilada.
Dang.
This is why they have 65% of your asses, our asses, our assets in prison, or they're on parole or probation. But we're funding the whole fucking enchilada. Because you go into default. You got into default judgment when you went into the courtroom. These are regulations governing these that are all part of the 48 CFR Title 48 Code of Federal Regulations. This is where Gene gets all of the information. It's on his $50 disc, which he's passed on now. So Part 12 deals with the commercial items, which are negotiable instruments, which are court judgments, the performance, payment, and bid bonds. But you can watch Gene Keaton on YouTube. Matter of fact, let's pull him up. Let's pull him up. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. Get them on that one. Let's see if we can get them on another one here. One way he's breaking down the information. All right, let's look at this one. This is brother Yusef L. This is the one in which that I first seen the film.
I'm not hearing any sound.
Are you not?
Nah. The,
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything either.
Were you able to see the screen?
yeah, we can see the
Yeah.
screen, just no
Yeah.
sound though.
Hmm. Can you hear it now?
Nothing yet. We just seeing Gene Keaton, the video on the screen, but we're not hearing anything.
Hmm. Amazing. The joint is loud on my end. Hold on. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the video in the chat and y'all can pull it up on your end. Go to 2 minutes and 21 seconds. 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Once I put it in here. All right, everybody, look at it now. Everybody got it?
Yeah, I'm pulling that up.
Here we go.
Yeah, pulling it up now.
Go to 2 minutes and 21 seconds.
He majored in corporate real estate. He's a multimillionaire. Our brother's very good at. He's a senior partner at one of the biggest corporate law firms in the United States in Chicago, Illinois. He's retired now, and he gets a pension. He teaches. He does arbitration now. He's making a lot of money. And what I'm going to go in today is we're going to talk about commercial law and how it applies to you, and what they're doing with you as a person. And I've been teaching this stuff for 35 years. I started teaching this stuff back in 1970. Nobody would listen, so I quit teaching it. Now people are starting to listen. I've known this for 35 years, what's going on. That everything is commercial. And the reason everything is commercial, there's no money. And what I mean by money is asset. And this is where commercial law comes in. There's two forms of money in commercial law. There's asset money and debt money. The asset money is on the private side. The debt money is on the public side. You have two different venues. You have a private and a public. And if you stay on the private side, you'll never have any problems. When you get over into the public side, this is where you get into the fiction, what they call a legal fiction. And when your mother, your parents signed the birth certificate, they created a fictitious entity called a straw man. In commercial law, it's called a homostratus, which is it's a legal fiction or a straw man. And what they did is they took this and they registered it with the Department of Commerce. First they registered it with the Bureau of Vital Statistics, and then they registered it with the Department of Commerce. Then they registered it with the DTC. I don't know if any of you, does anybody in here know what the DTC is? Okay, there's two. Let me explain something to you. There's two different companies. This is the parent company here, like this. It's called Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, DTCC. This is controlled by the Jesuits out of Rome, Italy. The guy that owns the Federal Reserve System his name is Hans van Clovenbach. He's called the Black Pope. They own the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pentagon, and the United Nations, which is a military-industrial complex. And they run our government. I'm not saying I don't want anything to do with these people, because they're all going to be extricated here very shortly, and I don't want anything to do with them. What I'm going to show you today is how they're controlling everybody. That's why I'm going into this stuff, and this is proprietary information. It's not being taught by anybody in the Patriot community, because they don't know it. I've done the research. I had a federal judge read my treatise, and he says I was 100% correct. Dan Benham read my treatise. I don't know if you guys know, anybody here know who Dan Benham is? Dan read my treatise, and he says I'm 100% correct. So I'm not looking for patronization, for people to patronize me. I know what's going on. I've done the research, and I've documented everything I teach. This is what I'm teaching you is what's going on. And you're not going to effectuate change in this country unless you know what the hell's going on. You got all these patriots going around filing papers, filing UCC 1s, UCC 3s, and they don't even know what they're doing. And you got people selling, like the Aware Group are selling UCC 1s, and they're charging $3,000 or $4,000. You got Howard Griswold selling UCC 1s to people. I was the one that got Howard into all this commercial law. You shouldn't be filing anything until you understand what you're doing. People don't understand what they're doing. They don't even know what a UCC1 is. You can't file a UCC1 unless you have a contract. Where's the contract? A UCC1 is a financing statement. The reason you file a financing statement is because you got a contract under Article 2. You have to have a contract. It's the contract that makes you the secured party, not the UCC1. You don't even need a UCC1. How do you think they're getting you in jurisdiction over you in the courtroom? Through contract. People go in there and file a UCC1, then they go into the courtroom and contract all their rights away. Debtor, creditor. Where's the? Let me ask you a question. How can you have a debtor and a creditor when there's no money? If there's no money, how can you have a creditor? What I'm revealing to you here today is what's going on in the courtroom. The court system is tied into this company right here, Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, the DTCC, and they own these two companies right here.
All right.
There's two of these companies right here. This is the Depository Trust Corporation. And there's the Depository Trust Company, two separate entities under this, the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation. This is the NSCC, this is the MSCC, and this is the GSCC. This means National Securities Clearing Corporation. This is the Mutual Securities Clearing Corporation. This is the Government Securities Clearing Corporation. These are all subdivisions of DTCC. Everybody got that written down? I've got a treatise. You're not going to get all this stuff today, I'll tell you right now. I've been teaching this stuff. I've got all this stuff memorized. I've been studying this stuff for so long, I got it recorded all up here. I have a 150-page treatise. I've got a CD with all this stuff on it, all the laws they're using, everything. It's got what it is a disclosure statement on the DTC. It's a 55-page document. I'll show you how to order that if you want to order it. You should sit down and study this stuff. You have to understand what is going on in the courtroom before you ever go in there. Cases are won and lost before you ever get into the courtroom. My brother doesn't know. Everybody assumes because it's because nobody knows this stuff. Even the judges don't know this stuff. You got any questions about this? MS is Mutual Securities Clearing Corporation. These are different divisions of the DTC. DTCC. This is the parent company. These are all trust companies. And they're all banks. This company right here is a securities depository and settlement company. They own everything. If you've got this, everybody got this written down? This is not my opinion. I've called these people up and talked. We got a taped conversation between one of the employees that works down there. You got to listen to this conversation. He's spilling the whole beans. This company right here, DTC, it's nominee. Nominee means name. It's called Seed and Company. C-E-D-E, and it's spelled in all capital letters like that. That's the nominee. This word, you ever heard when they ceded the state of Maryland to the District of Columbia? It became part of the District of Columbia, which is where your government is, which is set up by the whole White House is sitting on tax plot map, and all the lots are divided up like this. I'll show you. Everybody got that? All these lots they're numbered like this. They go down here like this.
Are we gonna listen to the whole thing?
Yeah, it's only 14 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I'm not making this up. I got the actual map. This came out of the Congressional Record in Washington, D.C. This is where the Capitol Dome is located, right here. If you read Revelation 16:18, it says, the great city shall be split in two parts. The great whore of Babylon is New York City.
All right, was that all of it?
Yeah, I was able to watch it.
All right, so
I don't know about others though. I don't know the status of others though.
yeah, well, somebody was playing it, so that was good. It got recorded. So Gene Keaton verifies the information which that we're going over. In fact, part of it is what came from him. All right, so right here, it says, anytime you deal in bonds, you are dealing with risk management. A reinsurer and a reinsurer means you are dealing in risk management. The reinsurer is assuming part of the risk of the bid bond that gave him a portion of the original premium. The original insurer gets part of that premium of the policy of the bid bond for acting as surety for the bid bond. The underwriter guarantees the resale of the bonds backed to the public as investment securities. To win in court, you have to redeem the bond. Gene went to court and asked for his bid bond. He asked for post-settlement closure of the account. This process is hypothecated. You have to know how to hypothecate the bond. You have to know how to hypothecate the bond. You have to know how to hypothecate the bond. So what did Gene do? He asked for his bid bond. And he asked for post-settlement closure of the account. And that's how you ask for it. Oh, excuse me, I'm asking for post-settlement closure of the account. May I have the big bond, please?
Doc, so that part there, would you be able to do that without just being a regular citizen?
No.
Okay,
They can try it, but it works better if you're more because you have all your ducks in a row, as they say, your T's um slash and your I's dotted type of thing.
gotcha.
Banks make derivatives out of your promissory notes and sell them. Mortgages, credit cards, etc. These prison bonds are being monetized. They make an investment security out of it. They make a fortune off the prisoners. These bonds go international into SIDS and then into ANA, which is the annual numerical numbering association of Brussels, Belgium, with unlimited capital. This is where the euro, the yen, the sterling, everything is under the prison system. All countries are feeding off of it. And you wonder why the United States has the highest amount of prisoners. You wonder why there's a new Jim Crow. This is the reason why for the new Jim Crow. When you read Michelle Alexander's book on the new Jim Crow, this information is left out of it. She knows nothing about this information, obviously. Or if she does, she didn't tell it in the book. That this is how these companies are feeding off of us. Yeah, this is 50 to 65% of us in prison. I'm talking about the so-called melanated people, Negroes. This is what was behind 9/11. State legislators passed bond statutes so that they can arrest people for paper terrorism. American Legislative Exchange Committee is behind all of this. Paul Warwick owns this think tank. Alex promotes privatization of the prison system. They go to the National Congress of Commissioners, which are 73 judges and lawyers who grew up under the UCC under lax vacatorial. The principles of the law merchants or the rules of decision of all the courts. Everything is commercial. All crimes are commercial. All crimes, kidnapping, robbery, extortion, murder. You don't close the account, you go to prison. The bond gets sold domestically and internationally. The bond are sold on the New York Stock Exchange. That's why I asked for someone to read about stocks. And Diamante realized that he was talking about us. We're the stock. Is that any different than the drafting process? They invest in their stock. They write the bids for their stock. The bonds are sold on the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE. CCA, Correction Corp of America, sells their stock and shares on the New York Stock Exchange. John D. Russell owns 64 million shares in CCA. John Ferguson, Vice President, owns 5 million shares. They are on the CCA board of directors. The Dilla Correction Corp is owned by David Dilla and merged with Trinity Virtue Investment, who then becomes SB Warburg. That part of the Warburg family located in Chicago, Illinois. Well, guess what? The Warburgs is part of the Federal Reserve Bank. They sat on the Federal Reserve Bank along with the Lehman Brothers. They are hooked up with the BIF Bank and the Bank of International Settlements, and where? Switzerland, one of the largest banks in the world.
So when they say, like I'm in Atlanta, so when they say crime is up in Atlanta, it really business is booming for these people.
Right.
Man,
And
sheesh.
this is why you have the police officers and sheriffs who sell the dope and the guns to the youths. They're playing their parts too. And this is why people don't win in court. Trials and pre-sentencing are just dog and pony shows. Don't use a bond, Gene said. Use a bid bond. So let's look at a bid bond. How to fill out a bid bond, y'all. How to fill out a bid bond? Let's look at it. Because we're not here to play. We're here to save the day. This is a bid bond. Look it up. And this is how you fill one out. You do it like this, you do it more richly. The principal will be your indigenous appellation. The surety would be your birth name. It would be individual, as you see here. Could have a correlate to the affidavit of individual surety, which is standard form 28. Because you are the surety. Your birth name is anyway. This is why you have the sureties here, because your birth name is the surety. Remember, I showed you that earlier. Standard form 28. Remember that? So you write down the penal sum of the bond. So if it's murder, it's $4 million. So you put $4 million times 20%. You hike it up 20%. And that's the number which that you will put there. The date and the bid identification. What's the invitation number? All
The
right.
court case numbers.
Right. Thank you. I knew somebody was going to get it. If you got some case numbers,
Oh,
that's
okay,
what
that's
that
what
would
they
be.
brought up in court when you went into default.
Right. That is the bid identification, which is the invitation number. They inviting you to bid on the bond.
Court.
And if your amount is higher than the bid, which it is, and it will be because it's going to be 20% higher. And where are you going to ask them to take those funds from? Oh, your UCC trust account, which was activated at the Department of Treasury under Janet Yellen. Yeah.
And you discharge the lien or the debt.
Right. You just discharged the charges that was put up against you.
Right.
You get it?
Wow. Okay.
Now, who is telling you this information? Anybody heard this information before? In this detail? With this common sense? No. But see, I've gotten people out of prison. That's how I know how to do this. So my shit works. Nobody is saying that they got anybody out of prison because the only thing they're worrying about is getting a fucking damn Lamborghini or some stupid shit like that. And oftentimes that's what happens. They end up taking their ass to jail because they're not trying to help nobody else out. They're trying to get what they can get. I didn't care about getting a damn Lamborghini or Maserati or Porsche or Bugatti or Bentley. What was important to me was getting my people out of prison. People who was facing 40 to 60 years. And I got them out in fucking damn 3 months. Notice nobody else talk about this information on YouTube or anywhere, as a matter of fact, as far as helping somebody. Their whole thing is about getting what they can get. And this is how you know that these are the people that you need to stay the fuck away from. Because they're not trying to help. They're trying to get. And I don't do this process for every little thing. Some people do the process similar to this. They do it for the light bill, the water bill, the cable bill. I'm like, good God Almighty. I ain't got enough time to damn be doing that shit every damn month. Cause this shit gonna roll back around in 3 more weeks.
Mm.
I got books to write. I got people that I got to teach. Now, if you got time to do all of this shit, then be my guest. But I'm doing it from just the way that I know that works. That I was able to do it by. And that was to get people out of prison. Brother Rafnetto L out of prison. Brother Lovejoy Bay out of prison. Brother Marku out of prison. Matter of fact, Prince Bay's stepson, he was in prison for robbery, and I got him out. In fact, brother Lovejoy Bay, we talked to his mom a few months ago, and she said, "Don't give nobody her number because she said, I don't know what we did, but shit, it worked." Well, what we did was put a wrench in there. Do you understand the charges being brought up against you? That's what this is. This is what this is. All right. So this is the performance bond. This is how you fill out the performance bond. Essentially, the exact same way that you did the payment bond, the bid bond. Notice that the exact same way that you filled out the bid bond is the exact same way that you basically fill out the performance bond. And this is basically the exact same way that you do the payment bond. All three bonds basically look identical. Okay. Okay. All right. So let me look. Do. All right. Now another thing in which that will help you is getting the EIN number of the corporation which that you're dealing with. For example, as you see here, you see Bank of America. Their EIN number is 94-1687665. All right. I'm only going to show you the big stuff. Wachovia Bank. All right. There's no Wachovia, believe any longer. They done got bought out. But here, let's say Countrywide Home Loan. All right. 13-2631719. All right. Or the Chase Bank. Chevy Chase Bank or Chase Bank, 52-0897004. So you will call the business agency and you would ask them for their EIN number. Okay. So it has the word principal. I am the principal. The straw man is the surety. And what's the straw man? The straw man is the name in all caps. And I am the principal. Who's the principal? Your indigenous appellation. With the straw man as the surety, as I showed you earlier, and myself as the principal. Then I filled out a performance bond, which is a reinsurance bond for the bid bond. On the reinsurance bond, I will put myself down as the grantor or the reinsurer. The performance bond is the 274, or in this case, 25 at the state level. The payment bond underwrites the performance. I can underwrite the bid bond with the performance bond. That's the reinsurer. The court do this for me because I don't know this stuff. And then they make the money off me. And have a case pending. Go into whatever district you are in, find the court, type in the case number, and it would tell you who has my bond. Banks are all tied into this. Every time I sign a check, it's a promissory note. The bank makes a derivative out of it. The bank endorses it on the back without recourse and monetizes it by selling it as derivative. They sell it internationally. My $100 check is used by 20 to 30 corporations internationally. This is why we are not getting back our canceled checks like they used to. Back in the days, in the, I remember growing up in the 70s and 80s, they get back the checks. It was during the mid 90s that they stopped that shit somewhere around there. The reason that they are sold as promissory notes now. The bank makes derivative out of them and sell them internationally. Therefore, I am loaning money to the bank. The bank reloans it to other people. The CUSA number is a 9-digit number. Uh-oh. What's a 9-digit number that you have, y'all?
Social security number.
Thank you. And that's without the dashes. That is your CUSA number. Internationally is up into 12 digits, representing trillions of dollars. So,
Dr. Lee,
is
question.
everything that I'm telling you becoming clear? Yes.
Yes. When you said that as soon as you sign or autograph any document,
Mm-hmm.
basically it's good.
Right. Right.
So, but what if when you sign, you sign with the UCC 1-308? Can they still use that, or or is that
No.
like,
No, they can't.
okay,
Mm-mm.
That
all right,
No,
protects the
if they can
signature.
see the no, because your signature isn't monetized, you have the right to breach that contract if you so see fit if there was fraud there in which that was taking place. And that's exactly what that symbolizes.
I recently had a
So
check
no.
that took 2 weeks to clear
Right. Did they tell you a reason?
because they weren't familiar with the company that gave me the check. And usually that
Right.
company that I sometimes do work for, I usually deposited to another bank account, but this was the first time I deposited to this credit union account, and they told me it would take like 2 weeks. So I deposited on like September 22nd. It didn't clear till like October 7th.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. 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 They got to make sure that the agency is playing the game with them. They're not playing the game with them, then they can't do nothing for them. Because remember, everybody's eating off of this. That's what all this is about.
But it just shows how big of an illusion all this stuff is.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. All right. So who's the owner of the prison system in America? Well, profiteering off the prisoners, prime stockholders in corporate in correction corp of America, funding streams exposed, corporate public private schemes exploited or exploiting, criminalizing vulnerable people. Research and excerpts from letters from jail. This is from Lynn Schwartzmaltz. All right. And she's going to take basically some of the same position which we just read from, excuse me, from Jane Keaton. I had many opportunities to educate women on the monetary system of jail. The moment as audit is written, or it is a warrant and a traffic ticket and whatever money machine is activated. Every prisoner has a monetary value to a government, whether it's local, city, excuse me, local, which is city, county, state, or federal. Bonds are written based on the person's name and social security number. Actually, the birth certificate itself, that's the name. And social security number and are sold through a brokerage firm such as AG Edwards or Merrill Lynch, who has the contract to sell all the prison bonds for the city, county, state, and federal prisons. Over 50% of the money market bonds right now are purchased in Japan or China. I'm going to say that again. Over 50% of the money market bonds right now are purchased in Japan or China.
That's crazy.
When you go to Fidelity, when you go to fidelity.org, You can put in your social security card, front or back, which means the front of the social security card, the front, or the number on the back, or the state file number, or the bond number on the birth certificate. And it would tell you how much you're being traded for on the exchange, on the stock exchange, and who has the bond, hence the original birth certificate, the one with your itty bitty feety weeties on it. I was told by researchers that Walmart and used to be Kmart also purchased these bonds. Well, see, if you notice, it didn't keep Kmart from damn getting closed. Walmart mostly doing so by emptying out bank accounts at night. Both companies are fronts for enormous money machines. The way the bond works is that a monetary value is placed on the alleged crime and then factored the way banks factor their money. In other words, they do fractionalized banking, mark up the value 10 times. If it's 650,000, then they mark it up 10 times to 65 million. I'm talking about 65 million. Yeah, 6.5 million, excuse me.
Doc, got a question.
Yeah.
When it says Walmart emptying out bank accounts at night, does it mean that they're transferring money temporarily during the night and then putting it back during the day, or do you know what that means?
It means that they're taking the money in which they make, well, they taking the money that they made off the stores every day
Mm-hmm.
and doing it, but then they're investing it in the stock exchange for the prison system.
Gotcha. All right.
Mm-hmm. So right here it says, in other words, if a person is convicted of a felony, the value will be $4 million, which I already said that earlier, if y'all remember. So a felony would be murder, $4 million. Robbery, kidnapping, that's $2 to $3 million. The county, city, state, then multiply it by 10, as I just told you, so that the bond then goes out for sale with the prisoner's name and social security number, which is a short-term promissory note. It offers at 40 million now. Offers at 40 million now. They do fractionalized banking 10 times the amount, as I just told you. Perhaps an investor will offer 40% of the 40 million, which is 16 million. Once this promissory note of the face value of 40 million reaches the bank, it is then multiplied again by 200 to 300% and sold as bank sureties. Damn.
So even all of this contributed to the financial crash with all the derivatives and nonsense going on.
Right. That was in 2008. And this is why the Lehman Brothers didn't survive after 2008 because of, remember, they blamed us for the crash in 2008 when Obama came in. They said, black people, we gave y'all the mortgages and y'all defaulted on them. And black, oh, shit.
But they the ones.
You don't remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, y'all remember that in 2008 when Obama came in? Hold on, let's see if that I can get a video on that shit.
But they the ones marking all this stuff up. 300%.
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly. Right here, the stock market in house crash of 2008 had its origin in the unprecedented growth of the subprime mortgage market beginning in 1999. The United States government-sponsored mortgage lenders, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, made home loans accessible to borrowers, in other words, to niggers, who had low credit scores and a higher risk of defaulting on loans. That's you and I. Allegedly. I pay my damn house off this shit within a few days. Fuck that shit. I ain't on you nothing. But this is what happened. Uh-oh, and what happened to the Lehman Brothers? Let's look at it. Oh my God. All these years they've been ripping niggas off and they end up having to run out of the money. Can you hear that?
I don't hear anything.
No.
Oh shit. All right, I'm gonna put in Demonte, you played the last segment, right?
No, that was the
Who was that?
guy.
That
That
was
was
Joff?
I think it was Bon
You,
Ray.
Joff?
Bon Ray.
Yeah, that might have been me. I didn't.
Oh,
I
that
didn't
was you?
know. I didn't know
Brother
everybody was.
Barkan?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
Oh
play
yeah,
it
yeah,
again.
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
He played the last
play
time.
this one again. Play this one again, Brother Barion. Appreciate you. Thank you, on God. Thank you.
Actually, it was by accident. I didn't know everybody was going to hear it.
Oh, I thought you did it on
Yeah,
purpose.
shoot, that's why everybody got quiet.
Oh, okay.
We was able to hear it. Yeah, they can't hear it from me for whatever bullshit reason, but at least let them hear it from you.
All
So
right.
yes, play it.
All right. Let me get it up here.
Okay.
All right. Just let me know if you can hear it.
It was one of the most profound events in generations with huge consequences for the American economy and households
Can
throughout
you
the
turn it up a
country.
little bit?
This was the time a
Yeah, let
decade
me see
ago
here.
when the
Let me
financial
pause it real quick then.
Okay.
crisis erupted. Consequences for the American economy and households throughout
There we
the
go.
country. This was the time a decade ago when the financial crisis erupted, a crash that most experts did not foresee. Its effects and of the recession that followed on income, wealth, inequality, and our politics are still with us. Tonight, our economics correspondent Paul Solman revisits how it all went down and the impact today of decisions made then. It's part of our weekly series, Making Sense.
So this is where, in some sense, the crisis began.
Yeah, this was the place where people were stumbling out of offices on the 15th of September 2008, the world having ended.
The Midtown Manhattan headquarters of Lehman Brothers, whose collapse 10 years ago this week was the signal event of the 2008 financial crisis.
It started in real estate, and it started with subprime, and that's the story everyone knows. How does that crisis in the suburbs of America move all the way back to the center of finance in New York?
Okay, how does it?
Banks are fragile things. Classically, we think of them as funded by deposits, with households putting their savings into the bank, and then the householders begin to get panicked and take all their money out.
But, says economist and historian Adam Tooze, author of the new book Crashed,
banks like Lehman don't have deposits. What they do is borrow money from other banks, and that money runs faster than any depositor can run.
So subprime mortgages begin to default. Lots of people are invested in those mortgages. Banks have a big stake. And so suddenly when banks look vulnerable, then they don't lend to each other anymore. Investors pull back. That's what happened?
Yeah, that's the crucial thing. Afterwards, there was a congressional inquiry that went after the banks for selling the bad securities to investors who've ended up being ripped off. That wasn't, in fact, the dangerous bit. The real problem were the bad debts, the securities that America's banks kept on their balance sheets.
in other words, Lehman not only created debt securities, bonds, backed by iffy subprime mortgages, it held on to them. When the debt started going bad, faith in Lehman collapsed. No faith, no credit, no credit, no Lehman.
We came as close as we have ever come in history to a total cardiac arrest, not just of the American economy, but the entire world economy.
Meaning everybody's afraid to lend to everybody else. Credit simply freezes, and an economy, a modern economy, can't function that way?
A modern economy can't function without credit for more than even a couple of hours, frankly, seconds. GE, the pillar of American manufacturing, was having a hard time getting short-term credit. So was Harvard University. Wage bills were not being paid.
And soon enough, the whole world was watching and enmeshed.
To illustrate your point about how the crisis spread globally, I thought we'd go to a Greek food stand, but you said, no, an Irish pub, and lo and behold, there's one right across the street from the old Lehman.
Yeah, because 2008 is all about banks, and the failure of the Irish banks in September 2008 is really the moment when the panic spreads to Europe in a way that the European states ultimately find almost impossible to handle.
Because European banks have a stake in Irish banks?
All of Europe is tied up with the Irish banking boom, is using Dublin as an offshore financial centre, and Dublin finds itself in the position on the 29th of September of having to guarantee the entire balance sheet of the Irish banking system.
Back in the US of A, September 29th was also the day Congress rejected President Bush's bailout bill.
The motion is not adopted.
And the Dow fell a record 777 points.
This is where the crisis goes from being a banking crisis to a crisis of the American economy as a whole, with stock market values crashing in September 2008.
We were now in the belly of the beast.
So here we have Wall Street with all the global banks. And then over here, the New York Stock Exchange.
Which is where we are now.
Which is where we are now. And the heart of the crisis-fighting effort, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York.
Ground Zero 929, the New York Fed. Here is where the system was saved.
And what the New York Fed decided to do, what the United States Federal Reserve System decided to do, was play the classic role it was always intended to play, to be the lender of last resort to American financial institutions.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis for obvious reasons on the unconventional side of Fed policy in 2008. The bailouts, taking equity stakes in banks or quantitative easing. But what really made the difference in the survival of the American and the global banking system in September 2008 was indeed liquidity provision, to take an asset which is very unattractive to sell in the moment of the crisis because its value may be suspect.
Assets like loans backed by failing mortgages, which the Fed took off the hands of the banks.
And to give you in exchange a cash loan that will tide you over for a matter of days, weeks, or months.
Ready cash, liquidity.
And this saved the American financial system.
And this didn't just save the American financial system, it saved the financial system of the world. More than half of the liquidity provision to large banks in the United States was to European banks in the United States. And then on top of that, the Fed lent $4.5 trillion to European and Asian central banks, who indirectly provided dollars to their local banks in Europe and in Japan.
And this, says Adam Tooze, is the key to understanding the crash of 2008. A global financial crisis because of global financial interconnectedness. A crisis that would have been far worse had the U.S. not dispensed dollars worldwide.
Wall Street is a global banking center, so you have banks from all over the world, and the Fed is providing them liquidity not out of the goodness of its heart, but to stabilize the American financial system, to stabilize the American housing market.
And to stabilize the intricately interconnected global financial system, with players like Barclays of London, which bought the remains of Lehman.
Yes, Barclays got hundreds of billions in liquidity too.
So in the end, the system worked, right? I mean, we're on Wall Street, stock market, almost double what it was before the crash now.
Well, it did if you happen to be one of the minority of Americans who actually has stock, and most Americans don't. And large parts of America have not recovered from the crisis. The San Francisco Fed was estimating that as a result of the lost growth in the US economy, the decade in which America grew below where it might otherwise have been, the recession probably cost the average American about $70,000.
$70,000 in lifetime income, that is.
So that is not something we're ever going to get back, regardless of what happens in the stock market.
Which prompted a final question about the political ramifications of the crash of 2008 at a final location.
This is Zuccotti Park, just by Wall Street, the site of the famous encampment from 2011 that spawned Occupy and the discourse of the 1% against the 99%, the place where inequality in America today was really put back on the political map. Huge rage against bailing out the banks. And the other great political reaction to the crisis came 2 years earlier in the form of the Tea Party, the idea that irresponsible borrowers who'd taken on debts they couldn't afford were now going to be rescued by the federal government. One opens, if you like, the door to a more radical politics on the right. The other opens the door to a more radical politics on the left.
Which is, of course, just where we are on the 10th anniversary of the crash of 2008. For For the PBS NewsHour, this is economics correspondent Paul Salman reporting from New York.
Thank you, Paul. All right. So, for those of you who was wondering why the United States has more people in prison per capita than any other nation on earth, you'll begin to understand how we have a weakened economy and still able to fund wars overseas. It's all based on prisoners. In other words, prison for profit. Any questions about anything that I've gone over today? Because y'all should have got a lot from today's discussion. Anything, any questions? Everybody understand what we've been talking about now? If you didn't understand from last week, you definitely should understand from this week information.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm still trying to understand, as far as the value of the birth certificate goes, where does all that money come from? Is it just the history of America that makes you worth something since you're born?
No, it comes from the Federal Reserve Bank, and they're estimating that if you make you're going to work about $650,000 worth within your lifetime. So they're averaging the age out to the age of 65.
Okay.
So they figured 65 times 10,000. Well, I should say 65 times 1,000, and that is 65,000. 650,000, or is that right? Something like that. Somebody help me out with that calculation right quick.
5 times 10 would be 650,000.
Right. So that's how much they speculate that you would make in your lifetime if you live to be 65 years old. This is why the age 65 is the time in which that they do what?
Retirement.
Retirement, exactly.
But that's not really working out for people, is it?
No, it ain't working out too well, but exactly.
So I got a question in relation to all of this. Like, I want to ask, like, how does it keep going? But it's like, well, if people keep putting their children on the birth certificate, it can go on forever.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Godly.
You know, people is putting it on the birth certificate. Remember, the mother's their informant. She snitched on that little ass. So, you know, that child is worth $650,000 out the womb. By the time of 18, that birth certificate goes on the stock market because it was abandoned. Nobody reclaimed the estate.
I have a question
And now,
about. So this is funny. All this information is coming to me because my cousin just got in trouble with some nonsense. So I'm hoping to hear from him soon about that. But how do you go about getting somebody else out of jail if I declare my status and I have my,
well,
ducks
that's
in a
the
row?
thing. They will have to declare their status.
So you have to do that. I have to help
You
him
have to do that. You have to do that while they're in prison. Yes, that's what I had to do. I had to nationalize them to get them outside, deny that they're 14th Amendment citizens, deny that they're U.S. citizens, and that according to the Dred Scott case decision, that they are not citizens, nor will they ever be.
Right.
That was the first thing I had to do. Then I was able to take them into commerce and do the UCCs, the asset protection.
But you're doing it on their behalf, right?
Right, I'm doing it on their behalf, right? Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, just to follow up on that of Dr. Ali. So that's why you nationalize them, because you yourself cannot be assured.
You can't be the grantor and the grantee at the same time. This is the problem. Look here. I showed you earlier. His name is Martin Rodriguez. But the thing is that he was still the grantor and the grantee. Only thing he did was switch his name around to Rodriguez, Martin. If y'all remember that, I showed you that. So, but you can't be the grantor and the grantee at the same time. So it still sounds the same to me. It's basically this is what you're gonna get. Here it is.
Oh yeah, it on
All
synonyms.
right, Martinez. Okay, here it is. Rockney, Willard, Martineau. Excuse me, that's it, Martineau. So right here, he has Martineau, comma, Rockney, W. But this is the same. Now, if this might have worked for him, who knows? But in order to show real separation, this right here has to be the birth. As you see here, the principal will have to be your indigenous appellation. So this would be Mustafa Hakeem Bey. And the name in all caps would be Mortinu, um, or either just Rockney Willie Mortinu. Okay? And it shows distinction now. You know, remember we read Ida Sanam before. Ida Sanam means it sounds the same to me. So Rockney Willie Mortinu and Mortinu, comma Rockney W. Shit, it sounds the same to me. So that would be under Edom Sanam. Okay? So he's attempting to show distinction, but based on the definition that we read last week on Edom Sanam, it would still sound the same. Because Mortinu still sound like Mortinu, and Rockney still sound like Rockney. Right?
Overstand, Dr. Lee. But my question was, if some, like, if I could do it for someone else. So, okay, so can a national do it for another national, or would that person have to be responsible for getting out of that situation himself?
No, it would be what I just broke down. You have to show distinction. This is why we do the nationality to show distinction, not the grantor the grantee at the same time, and then you can do your UCC ones like that too. And then the UCC one financial statements, it's gonna say specifically, you know, that you're making a distinction between the debtor and the secured party creditor. The secured party creditor is your indigenous appellation if you choose to do it that way, and the debtor would be the name in all caps at birth, and that's on the Social Security card and on the birth certificate. But now you've shown that that is the slave, that is the government, that is the um, birth certificate name. But now you are the CEO, the president, which is the indigenous appellation, naming up in lowercase, over that slave or government entity. So you have to show a distinction. All right, the grantor from the grantee. All right, the name in all caps. All right. Got to
Comprehend.
be distinct from the upper and lowercase name, in which that would be totally different name, not the same name, like in this case here. That's why a lot of the so-called sovereign citizens weren't working out too good for them because they was doing this type of thing. You have to make a distinction. You have to, make as if there's two different names, and you do that if it's Mustafa Hakeem Bey. That's definitely different than Martin New Rockney W. That don't sound nothing like Martin New Rockney W. Sound nothing like it, does it? Mustafa Hakeem Bey. So same person, but different name, and therefore you have debate on it. And so therefore that shows superiority and that shows governorship. Because Bey means governor, earth ruler, landlord.
Dr. Lean, can you go back to the affidavit of individual surety? Thank you.
Okay, I'm back here. What you need?
So when you're doing that's the SF Form 28. When you're doing that, the affidavit of individual assurity, I guess what I'm asking is when the principal and the surety on that, you're doing that to get ownership over your straw man name, correct?
You got it. Yep.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm certain on that. And also, what was
Right. The name in which that you putting in is your birth name. Right. That's the name that they have at the TTC. They don't have Mustafa Hakeem Bey name at the depository trust company because you never had a birth certificate for that name,
right?
but you had a birth certificate name for David Cunningham.
Right.
So, Dr. Alim,
Yes.
so I sent in, the last time I asked you about the information, okay, um, concerning the UCC one that I sent in. So I put in that information that you told me about, and now they're asking for, they sent it back to me saying that they need a mailing address for the second debtor, which is the name in all caps. My name in all caps at the trust. So they're asking me for a mailing address for that, and also the organization, what type of organization.
God, who asked for all this information? There in Maryland?
No, this is in New York. Because I sent
Lord
it
have
to,
mercy.
yeah, for real.
Wow.
Yeah, they rejected it a second time. They're asking for the debtors, which is the name and all caps certificate trust. They want the mailing address and they want the organization type.
Right. You might need to do it through the website, guy.
Yeah, that's where
Go to the Secretary of State of New York on the website and go through the UCC um, services, and then just do the UCC there, and then you'll mail off your contracts and everything once you have them done at the Register of Deeds. You mail them off a copy in order to get them to sign off on and everything if you want to. But it ain't necessary if you already do it there within Maryland. The only thing you need to do is do the UCC there within New York, and you can do that from online. Um,
So you're saying, Dr. Aline,
okay, let me.
just to clarify, you say just
Mhm.
do the UCC one and the addendum and the addendum,
Right,
the three.
just the UCC. Right, right. Just go. So here it is. Look at the screen, guy. If you can see the screen, go to Secretary of New York State. Here it is. Go to New York. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a bit of a
All
lag
right.
though.
So
It's a small lag, I think.
it's a small what?
It's a small lag, but you can keep going.
Okay. Oh wow, New York is really tripping.
Look like I scared them off.
All right. So go to services, New York State Services. Go to services. You come down and you look, boom, boom, boom. Well, which one I need to do? Okay, let's go to business. You go to business, and you come down and you look. Okay, business. Okay, what I'm trying to find here. I want to do the UCC, blah, blah, blah. Let's look, look, look. All right, I don't find it. Then I'll put in search UCC. Boom. All right. So right here, Uniform Commercial Code UCC financing statement. All right. All right. So as you see, they did the UCC. Right here it says State of New York Department of Corrections and Community Supervision Directive Offenders Correspondence Program. All right. This is the shit that they're doing. And this is what underway. UCC, Uniform Commercial Code Financing Statement. Y'all see that? Can y'all see that now?
Yeah, we can see it now.
So why is a correction form under the UCC? Okay. So this is what they're trying to show you here. UCC, Department of State forms. File a UCC financing statement. File a UCC financing statement amendment. So that's the UCC 3. And here's the UCC 1 right here. File a UCC financing statement. They take you through a whole lot of rhythm and roll just to get to the damn thing. File online.
Better do everything online, really, so I ain't got to deal with nobody.
Right. So here is an electronic UCC financing statement from New York City. All right. This is similar to the one in which that you showed me before, Chief Joe.
Yes, they have the older version for some reason.
Right. Right. Okay. But it might be the one that you want to use then. But this right here goes through the information. Is it the trust? Yes, it's a trust. Dealing with court case, Bailey, Baylor, right here. Transmit utility. Six, 7, and 8. You can also do a non-UCC filer, which that's what we recommend to do first. All right, so let's look at it. Boom. Name,
Question, Doc.
Masaru Alim, yes.
For the non-UCC filing, does that have to be check marks on the document form?
I can't hear you. A lot of noise in the background.
Can you hear me now?
There's still a lot of noise in the background.
Can you hear me, Doc?
Yeah.
I was asking on the form, do you have to document or check it off the non-UCC file when you're doing it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
I found that a PDF of the book you mentioned last class, the cracking the code. I'm gonna drop that in the chat for
Right.
everybody.
There we go. Yeah.
I was reading that last night.
All right. I'm going to go on and go because I got another class. I'm gonna say I'll tell you Washington each to everyone.
Aha, take Washington East.
Yeah, I'll tell you, watch the East.
Wichita ish.
Thanks again, Doc.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Appreciate it.
Washington each. You're welcome. All right.
Dr. Ali Mama set up a consultation with you.
Okay.
Goodbye.